Hey guys, Jono here, and today I want to talk about the many uses of a 5-in-1 reflector and why it's so versatile and a must-have for any filmmaker. You've heard me talk about these things so much in previous videos, but I thought it was about time that I dedicate an entire video just to the 5-in-1 reflector. Yes, they are cheap, but they are so versatile and they have so many different uses for modifying light. As you can see, at the base of this reflector, we have the diffusion panel, and these are perfect for softening and diffusing any kind of harsh light source. I personally think they're brilliant to have in a studio setup or anywhere where you have any harsh lights. As you can see at the moment in my setup behind us, with my key light onto me, it's actually casting a little bit of a shadow onto the wall of my lamp just to the right of me. But if we hold up this diffusion panel and soften that light even more, you can see that that shadow has suddenly disappeared and we've got a nice soft light onto my face. But if we take it away, then obviously you've got a little bit of a harsher light, but personally I kind of prefer it for this setup. I've already got one layer of diffusion on the key light, but if you want that nice soft look, sometimes you need to add an extra layer of diffusion. Now, another use for this little guy is if you're out in direct sunlight and you're shooting, that can cast some really harsh shadows and actually generate some really highlighted spots on a face of an actor or a subject that you're filming. I have actually made a video about it in the past. Link will be at the end of the video where I go more in depth about how you can use it for that. So check that out at the end of the video if you do want to see that. You then get this cover which zips over the top of the diffusion panel. This then gives you another 4 additional sides to use with the reflector, which can all be used in different ways to modify the light. But we're first going to take a look at this white side, which is perfect for bouncing light back into a scene. Bouncing light into a scene can be a great way to get an even softer light source. This is slightly different to diffusing a light and can give you a slightly different look. But when used correctly, you can actually get some really good results with bouncing light back into the scene. Also, another great use for this is to use it to create some fill light. Now, in my current setup, I only use the one key light, and that's off frame here, which is lighting myself. Now, it's not fully wrapping around my entire face, so it's actually creating some shadow on this side of my face. I personally like that look, but sometimes you might want a nice evenly lit face. And if you've only got the one light, it can be a little bit tricky to do. So this is where you would use this to bounce the light back in to create that fill light on this side of the face. So if we just lift up this white panel here, you can see that it's already bouncing that light back onto my face, and I've got a nice evenly lit spread across my entire face. But if we take it away, you can see that you've then got that shadow back on there. It just all kind of depends on what you're filming and the preference that you're looking for, or the style that you're aiming for. But it can really be a helpful tool to have to be able to bounce that light back in and have kind of 2 light sources for your shot. So next up we have the black side of the reflector, which kind of does the exact opposite of what we were just talking about with the white side. This will absorb the light rather than bouncing it back into the scene, and the perfect use for this is to create negative fill. You can see that in my current setup with how I've got my light set up in my studio, that I've already got negative fill on this side of the face. And what that basically does is gives more depth and definition to the face. It's just a little bit more pleasing to the eye than a well lit face. Kind of gives that real nice definition and gives that real nice cinematic feel that most people are kind of used to when they're watching films or TV shows. But you could also use this to cut and shape light really well because of the black fabric. So if you've got a light source like here pointing at your talent, but it's spilling onto the background a bit and you don't want that, this is a perfect way to stop that from happening. So if you lift up the black panel here, you can see that it's stopping that light from hitting the background. So it's not casting those shadows on there. The light isn't hitting the background, it's more focused onto me, which can be really good when you want to really control your light sources. You can have this up on a C-stand or a light stand just next to your light source, and you'll be able to shape it however you want. Lastly, we've got the reflective sides of this 5-in-1 reflector. You usually get 2 sides, and that's a golden and a silver side to use to reflect light back into the shot. Now you get a slightly different look than you did with the white panel that was bouncing the light back into the shot, because that was giving a nice soft, even white light. Whereas using something like this golden side, you can see that it's a little bit harsher, but it's also got a nice warm golden shade to it. which can be really good for certain shots. Not necessarily this one here, but you can definitely get really creative with these. And the silver side especially is good for highlighting objects that may be in the shadows in your shot, in your film, and you want to highlight them and bring them out from the shadows. And that is perfect for that. Now, I don't use these as much as I do the other parts, but they're really handy to have whilst on set, because you never know when you might need to modify the light or reflect certain colours back into your shot. That brings us to the end of the video, guys, and it's so nice to finally cover off all the uses of these 5-in-1 reflectors and tell you guys why I love them so much and recommend them to pretty much every filmmaker. But my name's Jono, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to see more, and I'll see you guys next week.